Hello and welcome back to People of History. We are on episode 3, and our last episodes have been very interesting to talk about, to say the least. One of them even got me a bit emotional. I don't know if that was me getting close to my period or if that was just me being just a girl. Either way, I think they correlate. But, so, today we're going to be talking about a woman who goes along the lines of our last two topics. And the inspiration for this episode and this topic in general, people of history right now, is I was watching The Sound of Music for the 1500th millionth time. I might be exaggerating that number just a little bit, but it got me thinking of Operation Pedro Pan. And it reminded me of an episode of Girl Meets World where it went like where Farkle did like a cultural thing and he found out he was actually Jewish. But he was his grandfather was adopted by a Christian family who rescued him during World War II. And I found that very interesting. So it got me down a rabbit hole thinking, what are other families who have done something like this or who have helped Jewish children and families during World War II? Because believe it or not, I love Jewish culture. Even though I'm not Jewish, I do have respect for it, and I like to learn about it. And I love learning about history, so it kind of correlates with each other. But if you're new here, hit that like button, ring that bell for notifications. Also, please subscribe, help a girl out. But with that being said, why don't we jump into today's episode of Miss Irena Sendler? Now, if you have no clue about history or if you've been living under a rock, there was this little thing called World War II, and it really wasn't so little. It was one of the costliest wars in the history of the world, modern world, and it lost a lot of lives. And there were so many people out there who history often forgets about, but yet comes back, but yet gets found out about it years later. So, with that being said, I want to talk about this Polish social worker who was a key figure in the underground resistance during World War II. And she was best known for her heroic actions in saving approximately 2,500 Jewish children from the Warsaw Ghetto. Her name? Irena Sendler. And I had a whole original thing planned out, but I had to summarize a lot of this stuff. So, because there was a whole thing on her, and I did my best to summarize it. I might have had some help of Gemini. This is not a sponsored episode. So I do apologize. In my defense, I want to try to keep you interested as long as possible. But who was Irena Sendler? Well, some of her core achievements in her through wartime resistance was the Żegota leadership, which was operating under a pseudonym Jolanta, and Sendler headed the children's section of Żegota, which was to counsel the aged Jews. And there was also this rescue network that she coordinated with, a clandestine network of volunteers who smuggled children out of the ghetto. That doesn't sound as weird as you may think, especially given the circumstances and everything, but these children were provided with false identities and placed in a safe home, orphanage, and convents. And there was even a hidden list that was crucially that she kept encoded records and the children's original identities buried in a drawer to ensure that they would be with their families after the war. Now, I don't know about y'all, but this is a hero right here. And you can define hero as many things. Someone who was on the wartime, someone who did the work behind the scenes. Keep in mind, World War II was a very costly and disastrous war that took a lot of lives that should not have been taken. But it's history, and we need to learn from history. And that means we learn from heroes like Irena Sendler, who in 1943 was arrested and brutally tortured by the Gestapo. Despite the immense pressure, she refused to betray her associates of the location of the hidden children. And though sentenced to death, she escaped execution when Żegota successfully bribed German guards to release her. That's just saying something right there. Now, her legacy and her recognition live on. In her post-war life, she continued her work in social work in communist Poland, and she has also received some honors. For example, in 1965, she was recognized by Yad Vashem as righteous among nations, and in 2003 she was awarded the Order of the Right Eagle, which is Poland's highest civilian honor. And why is this so significant? Well, she remains a global symbol of moral courage, representing the dozens of others who risked their lives to oppose the Holocaust. Now, Sendler um lived from 1910 and died in 2008. She was this Polish social worker and humanitarian who led clandestine network to save Jewish children during the Holocaust. And she was born in Warsaw and raised in a household with strong humanitarian values. She became a defiant advocate for Jewish rights long before the war, in opposing ghetto benches at the University of Warsaw as well. But that is it for this episode. I know it was short, I know it was brief. Like I said, there was a lot of information. I tried my best to summarize everything for you with some help. But you can join me next time as we talk about a couple who rescues children together, stays together. This is an American couple. See if you can figure out who I'm talking about.